Finally, made it to the Flaming Cliffs. What I came here for. So, expected a bit more fire, but yeah, it's pretty bloody good.
Hey, welcome to Choo. My name is Jacob, and today I'm going to tell you about the time I vomited on a hedgehog in Mongolia. Not one of my finest moments, but don't worry, no hedgehogs were harmed in the making of the vomit. True story, bro. So back in 2017, my dad and I decided to travel to Mongolia just for a bit of fun, have a bit of an adventure. My uncle and my late auntie's partner, who's more or less an uncle, decided to join us for the ride. So the four of us met up in Hong Kong and got on a plane to Ulaanbaatar, the capital of Mongolia. I'm probably mispronouncing just about everything in this, so forgive me, or don't forgive me, I don't know, whatever. Write me an angry letter, leave a comment. We heard that travel in Mongolia could be a bit tricky. Little did we know how tricky it was actually going to be. Before our feet were even on Mongolian soil, trouble began in the air. So the Ulaanbaatar airport is a one-way runway, and what that means is, due to an incline, you can only land on it from one particular angle. This is quite problematic when there are strong winds or winds that conflict with whatever direction. I don't know if it's a headwind or a rear wind. I don't know shit about wind. But what I do know is that if the winds are unfavorable, you can have a very hard time landing on that runway, considering that you can only approach it from one side. Because I think it's something to do with, it's such a short runway, so it's built on an incline, so that when you land, gravity will help you slow down quicker or something. I'm not really sure how it works, but either way, we were pretty fucked already. See, in the air, we started running out of fuel. We were running out. Now, the problem is, the people on the airline, the pilots or the staff, no one was telling anybody on the plane anything. So we're just circling around and around, and a couple of times went in to land with no, like the Mongolian airlines, they had no one telling us, like, hey, we're about to try to land, or hey, we've got some strong winds, or hey, there's going to be turbulence. Fucking nothing. We're coming down on this runway from this very angle, and then suddenly he'd pull up and go around again, and we'd be doing this like 3 or 4 times, almost landing, almost hitting the ground, and then off we'd go. The plane's going like this. It was fucking nuts. And again, no one's telling us anything, right? After a while, word gets out that there's something to do with wind. I think there was a guy who spoke Mongolian who was a passenger, and he sort of, rumors, Chinese whispers went down the aeroplane. There was probably only 20 or 30 of us on the plane, so it wasn't a very big plane. We can't land, and we're running out of fuel. We don't have enough to go back to Hong Kong. The only other airport nearby is Irkutsk, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, in Russia. So we gun it to Russia. Now here's the thing, we're on this tiny little cramped plane. Once we landed in Irkutsk, all these fucking Russian guards with massive fuck-off machine guns came out and surrounded the plane. They did not want us to get off this plane. So we're just sitting there in the window looking at all these guys with guns, realizing that I don't know what the fuck's going to happen. The reason we landed there was to refuel and to wait for the winds to hopefully change. So we're just sitting there going, all right, well, let's just keep ordering beers. So we're going beers for beers. We've had about 4 or 5. They run out of beers. We're like, fuck, okay, well, we're going to be in Mongolia soon. We can hang on a bit longer. So eventually the winds changed, luckily, and we went back to Ulaanbaatar. They didn't change much, mind you, because it was still one of the fucking craziest landings I've ever had. The plane hits the ground, it's fucking boop, 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 boop. Anyway, we get off, we land in Ulaanbaatar, the capital of Mongolia, safe and sound. Just quickly, there was a monk in the aisle opposite me, a Buddhist monk. And as we were coming in for our final landing, we didn't know it was going to be the final one. Who knows? He starts fucking praying and chanting. So he's carrying on like that. I'm freaking out. I'm like, no one's saying anything. This religious nutter next to me is bloody carrying on. He's praying to God or whatever the Buddhists believe in, and he's going nuts. When we finally land and the plane stops, he's got tears run down his face. He jumps up and he starts hugging everyone in the plane, and everyone's freaking out. And all I'm thinking is, can I get a fucking beer? So we head off, we get to our hotel, whatever it was, we unload our bags, we go out to find a beer that we all desperately need. Guess what? Apparently in Mongolia, it's illegal to sell booze of any kind on the first day of every month, or something like that. I don't know if it's probably a religious thing, a shamanistic thing, I don't know what it is, but on this first day, we couldn't get any booze. So here we are, trapped in this aeroplane. All we wanted was a beer, and we still had to wait to the next day. So this is day 1 of our trip to Mongolia. We're there for 3 weeks, mind you. So after fighting around in the capital, Ulaanbaatar, for a day or two, we rented a big old Russian van, loaded up on vodka, and headed to Terij National Park. Again, probably mispronouncing it. Fuck me, right? We went for long walks through the mountains and did a few horse rides and continued to drink vodka. Don't get me wrong, we're not total pissheads. We just wanted to fit in like the locals. Like this old coot who let himself into a girl one night. This old man, he just runs into our ger, helps himself to booze on our table, and just starts knocking it back.
Because kidsman, and I said, Carol, and I love you. Kidsman loyal.
Funny, despite my country being over 8,000 kilometers away from this dude, and despite my culture being totally different in our upbringings and wealth and whatever, we had this strange kinship with the old drunk. I don't know what it was, but I felt like a connection with this old man. I still can't put my finger on why.
Bloody, where in the bloody are we? I don't even know. And having a bit of a bloody go, you know what I'm saying?
So after a bit of sightseeing, we headed back to the capital, Ulaanbaatar, for Mongolia's biggest festival, the Naadam Festival, which translates to the 3 games of men, which is wrestling, archery, and horse racing. But pretty much it means sitting in cramped amphitheaters for 6 hours at a time, squinting into the distance, desperately trying to make out what the hell is going on. So it's been about 6 hours in this dusty dirt, and well, here they come. This is truly riveting stuff. Look, I'm not being heaps fair. Apparently in the smaller towns you can get more up close and personal, and you can even have a go at some of the events yourself. But in the city, in the big capital, it's quite a large city actually. It was pretty fucking cramped and boring, man. But you know, it's still fun experiencing different cultures. After all that excitement, we hired a driver and took off to the Gobi Desert, hoping to find some dinosaur bones at the legendary Flaming Cliffs. Of course, we're not actually looking for dinosaur bones, it's illegal to take anything, but the Flaming Cliffs is very famous for that, and it was one of the main reasons I wanted to go to Mongolia in the first place, being a bit of a history dickhead. And also, dinosaurs are sick. Crossing the desert can be quite dangerous, so before we head off, we decided to get some fortune telling to see if things will go our way, to see if we'll have good fortune in the desert.
Will we have good luck in the Gobi?
Good and no obstacles.
Bloody car's broken down.
Oh, maybe this guy will give us a hand, eh? Or not. But while the gang fixes the car, me and Dad go for a walk. And there were some quite beautiful things in the desert. It also turns out that our driver was a retired rally car driver. Like, of course, he doesn't speak any English. No one in Mongolia speaks English, by the way. I don't even know how we got to where we were. Some of the hostel owners speak English, but everyone who takes you out on an adventure, most of the time we like to do things independently, but it's hard to get anywhere in Mongolia. There's no roads, no street signs. Again, nobody speaks English. So here we are just cruising across the desert with this guy that we hired. Doesn't speak a word of English, but hey, he got us to our destination just fine. The funny thing is, he's a retired rally car driver, or something like that, so every time he sees another car, he'd go into like super race mode and just start fucking gunning it across the desert. It wasn't scary, it was just very funny. I don't know if he was like trying to relive the old days, or if he was just fucking whoop, 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 if you know what I mean. What do you reckon? So on the way to the Flaming Cliffs, we stopped off at these big sand dunes, the biggest in Mongolia or something, I don't know. It was pretty fun though. So after some dune climbing, we finally made it to the Flaming Cliffs. Here is where the first ever fossil of the legendary Velociraptor was found. And the main reason why I wanted to come to Mongolia, as I mentioned, like this is where they found the legendary Velociraptor, which looks nothing like the ones in those movies, but it's still pretty cool. They also found a bunch of other dinosaurs here and eggs and all kinds of cool shit. So it was really fun to be in this monumentous archaeological historical site.
This belongs in a museum.
After heading back to camp, we tried to locate some cold beer, but there was like no power in this place, and this is what really pissed me off. There were two like little lodges that you could stay at, ger camps. A ger is like a big tent, and we picked this one because I asked the guy specifically, do you have any cold beer? We are beer drinkers, we need beer. We're in the middle of the fucking desert, it's 700 degrees outside. Do you have any cold beer? If you have some cold beer, we will stay here. The guy I spoke to was one of the few people in Mongolia who apparently speaks English, so I know for a fact he damn well knew what I meant. Now I know we're being a bit dicks, we're being like wanky tourists. I just wanted a cold beer, man. He promised us beer. Well, there's no fucking power in this place, and there was no fucking cold beer. All they had was like long necks of warm, frothy piss. I choked down about 3 beers at most with some of the other travelers who were very nice. I met lots of people and they were sharing stories. There were people from Korea there and America and England. It was really, really fun. But beer was terrible. So, and it was like 40 degrees at night as well. It was Celsius. It was fucking hot. So after about 3 disgusting, like these beers were not just room temperature. They were like hot. It was like they boiled the beer or something. So I went to bed. And this, my friends, is when disaster hit. Around 2 or 3 a.m., I woke up with the sharpest pain in my gut I've ever felt. It was like someone had thrust a hot poker into my stomach and twisted it. It was savage. I've had food poisoning before. Nothing like this. Feeling the vomit on my grim horizon, I ran to the camp bathroom, opting for showers instead of the toilets because, well, the toilets were shit-coated and the last thing I want to do when feeling this sick is stick my head into someone else's vile excrement. With only moonlight guiding my way, I stumbled into the shower with intent to puke when I noticed a bunch of little critters on the ground. Hedgehogs! I have never seen a hedgehog in person before, but recognized them from YouTube videos and whatnot, and fuck me, they were adorable. I was in awe of the little critters who probably sneak into the shower at night to drink from whatever little puddles of water were left on the shower floor after the local tourists and visitors had finished bathing. We are in the middle of the desert, by the way, don't forget, so this seemed like a logical conclusion. The reality is I have no idea why the bathroom was full of hedgehogs, and at this stage, I didn't really care. There were about 4 or 5 of them on the ground, so I tried to scoot them out. I tried gently nudging them with my feet, but they kept looking up at me and yelling at me, right? They kept looking up and hissing at me, so I didn't know what the fuck I'm gonna do. How am I gonna get these hedgehogs out of here? Now, I don't know if you can pick up a hedgehog. I see people do it, but I don't know. Maybe they have spikes that shoot out. I don't know fucking shit about hedgehogs other than when I played Sega as a kid, you know? But anyway, it doesn't really matter because my time was up and my vile effusion was on the way. It came firing out of me as if like eco-terrorists had blown up a dam, which is my mouth, and behind it was holding back vomit. It was just like a massive expulsion. Let's just say the little cute hedgehogs didn't stick around much longer after that. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I puked all over the hedgehogs. I know I went on and on about how I was looking at them, but really this whole thing took like 2 seconds. I went in there, I was like, hedgehogs, cool. It really, it was that quick. I was like, wow, that's nice. I mean, I just couldn't stop puking. It was just like Krakatoa, man, just one after the other. Then it wasn't the only thing that I could feel coming on. So I felt this pain in my stomach, and I kid you not, I dropped my Dax faster than a male stripper at Hen's Night and sprayed hot liquid shit against the side of the wall in the bathroom. Don't worry, the hedgehogs were long gone by this stage. For the next few minutes, it could have been hours, I don't know, I was on the ground in a fetal position, just evacuating, writhing around in pain. It was the most intense pain I'd ever felt, probably in my entire life. After my internal contents were evacuated, I did my best to like hose down the room with the shower head, but you know, I did try to clean up. I didn't just leave the whole place covered in shit, but there was only so much I could do. I mean, I was starting to see spots, man. I managed to hobble back to my gear and fall into the bed, which woke everyone up, my dad included. And most of the rest of this is a blur to me. I remember Dad putting like cold flannels on my head and it felt like hot irons. My skin was burning up and these things were just like shh and just almost steaming instantly. I swear it was. I can't remember lots. I was just in delusional agony. I don't know if it was like heat stroke from like climbing the dunes all day and just being generally really hot. I've never had heat stroke before, so I can't relate. Or it was the frothy piss they sold to me disguised as beer. I don't really know. Maybe a combination of lots of different things. Some sort of food poisoning. Because like I said, I only had 3 beers. That's nothing to me. That's like fucking air. So it must have been something off. I don't know what it was, but I was crook for so fucking long after this. So Dad was really panicked. I should call him up.
Hey, how you going?
Hey, Dad, you got a minute?
Yeah.
Hey, do you remember the time we went to Mongolia and I almost died?
Yes.
Yeah, what were your thoughts on that? What? Because I can't remember much because I was quite delirious.
Well, I was scared as a father, of course, visiting my son overseas where you couldn't get any medical attention probably for days. To be honest, it was really scary, man.
Do you remember what was happening to me?
Yes, I do, exactly. When I got to you were laying on your bed and it's almost like you were gasping for air. What I found is that you were cooking, you were overheated, you were on meltdown. I was giving you a little bit of liquid, but not a lot, because you didn't cope with it. You were so close, you were so hot. I ended up getting towels, soaking them in cold water and putting them on you, and within minutes those towels were warm like a hot towel. So I took it off, got the next one, and I did that for about 3 hours. So then it was the scariest moment, scarier than when we were in the Philippines and you got arrested and went over there to the police shop. Scarier than you fell out of the tree when
That's a story for another time.
No, it was serious. It was really, I think, to be honest, I think if I didn't get there, I think you would have been dead. If I didn't pick it up or I didn't see you or I didn't pay attention to you, I reckon you probably had a good chance of not being here. at the moment.
wow.
So yeah, pretty scary. But the worst thing there is we had no medical assistance, nothing. We're in the middle of the bloody Gobi Desert somewhere, sitting on a bunch of rocks, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Dad, I'll let you go, man. I got to keep working on this video.
All right, mate. Yeah, you take it easy, mate. You look after yourself.
I will.
Don't get food poisoning or drink shitty beer.
I won't. I love you, Dad.
So yeah, love you too. See you, mate. Bye.
Bye. I'm not yet a father, but I can only imagine that seeing your children in such agony and being totally powerless to do anything about it would be pretty fucking terrifying. I hope I never have to experience that. So after about 15 hours, we headed back to the nearest town, which was 10 hours away. A day or two later, we ended up back in Ulaanbaatar because our holiday, if you could call it that, was coming to an end. I calculated by then, I still couldn't eat anything because I was still in a lot of pain. My stomach hurt, but at least I could drink water and I think maybe some soft drinks, but I hadn't eaten anything for about over 50 hours. I hadn't eaten anything solid. Again, just water for 50 hours. I was wasting away. And the first thing I had, I remember this, I'm not a big sweets guy, but the first thing I had was a Snickers bar. And fuck me, it was the most delicious chocolate I've ever eaten. The most delicious food I've ever eaten in my entire life. That's what happens when you don't eat for 50 hours.
Bloody, feeling a bit better. Just had a final dinner. Heading home tomorrow. Overall, I'd say my trip to Mongolia was pretty bloody good.
But my trip to Mongolia did not go smoothly. It was a challenge for sure, but we got to see some amazing sights and boogie with interesting people in one of the far corners of the world. It was tough at times, and I'm pretty sure I nearly died. But that's what adventuring's all about, man. It's about leaving the safety and comfort of your home and just going out there and seeing other parts of the world, other cultures firsthand. You don't always have to end up in a sticky situation to have a good time. I've done many trips where it's been quite peaceful and relaxing, nothing wild's happened, and it's been great. I've had some fantastic memories. And then there's been other trips where I've ended up right on the brink of like death or right on this wild adventure in a very, very peculiar spot. What the fuck am I talking about? I'm just rambling on here. Anyway, that's the time I vomited on a hedgehog in a Mongolian desert. Yeah, hopefully that little guy is probably dead by now. How long do hedgehogs live? I don't know. But either way, I hope he recovered. Maybe he ate some of the vomit. I don't know. If you enjoyed that story, leave a little comment. I've got plenty more stories to tell. Like I said in the last video, I'm still going to be doing cooking adventures and fun little things. If you just want me to fucking cook food in the kitchen and not worry about rabbiting on about some boring event that happened that I think's exciting, that everyone else thinks is shit, leave a comment, let me know about that too. Otherwise, be happy and healthy, and I love you very much. Goodbye.
Mongolia's first Irish pub.
Is it?
Cheers.
Oh, they're just calling the waiter. I assume it is.
Pretty,
Why would you do that?
pretty bloody good.
French fries.
Oh, okay.